Hello, and welcome back to the channel. After visiting the beautiful Château de Chenonceau, following the course of the Loire River, we arrive at the castle that inspired one of the most famous fairy tales.
And if you like our video, do not forget to like it, subscribe and activate notifications so that you know when we upload a new video.
We continue our tour of the Loire Valley, and after visiting the beautiful Château de Chenonceau, a visit we certainly recommend, we leave the Cher River and approach the Loire River again, arriving at the Château d'Ussé. The history of this castle begins around the year 1000, when the Viking Gjelduin built a fortress of stone and wood. On that fortress, in the 15th century, the basic structure of the castle was built, and being owned by the d'Espinay family, the central part of the castle and the chapel were constructed. In 1659, the new owner, Bernard de Valentini, comptroller of King Louis XIV, continued to expand the castle, commissioning the design of the gardens from André Le Nôtre, designer of the gardens of Versailles, also demolishing part of the north side to open the castle to the garden terraces. Acquired by the Duchess of Duras at the beginning of the 19th century, at the end of the same century, it passed into the hands of the Duke of Blacas, whose descendants are the current owners, who opened it to tourism in 1955 and who still live in a part of the castle. From the free parking lot located in front of the castle, a short walk that takes us next to the gardens designed by Le Nôtre leads us to the parade ground, where we begin the visit by accessing the vestibule, where we find a beautiful 19th century spiral staircase. We continue the visit through the guard room, also called the marble room, so named because in the 17th century the ceiling was painted in faux marble, giving it a spectacular appearance. In the display cases, we find ancient objects that belonged to the castle's owners, as well as a collection of weapons and oriental objects, mainly from India, which the ancestor of the current owner brought in the 19th century, and where we can also see a curious 18th century Indian warrior. We continue the visit and arrive at the Oriental Cabinet, which was an old bathroom, where we find 19th century Syrian furniture with mother-of-pearl inlay. We then move to the Vauban room, where the castle's chapel was previously located, a beautifully decorated room with 16th century Brussels tapestries depicting the biblical episode of David and Goliath, and furniture from the 16th to 18th centuries, such as a beautiful 17th century Florentine cabinet with secret drawers. We now head to the small room, which is the oldest part of the castle, a vaulted room with 17th century Flemish tapestries adorning the walls, and from which we descend through a tunnel to an underground space excavated directly into the castle's foundations, which served as a refuge during wars and troubled times. Passing by the castle's old heating system, we find several documents that recount how in 1939, at the start of the Second World War, the castle was requisitioned to transfer and preserve the treasures of the National Library, with the first boxes arriving in April 1940, with up to 1,500 boxes distributed throughout the castle, even equipping it with fire prevention measures. We go back up to the surface and arrive at the Great Gallery, which before connecting the east and west wings of the castle was a passageway with rows of arches facing the court, and where we can admire, among other things, a bust of Louis XIV or the beautiful 18th century Brussels tapestries adorning the walls. Crossing the main gallery, we arrive at the Grand Staircase, a beautiful straight staircase with 17th century Italian-inspired wrought iron railings, next to which we find an 18th century sedan chair, a 19th century cannon that served to announce the birth of the current Duke of Blacas in 1943, or some curious boots used to protect the rider from blows and the elements, which were worn over the rider's own boots and weighed 2 kilograms each. Before going up the grand staircase to access the upper floor, we stop by the dining room with Louis XV furniture and beautiful tableware, which is still used by the owners, since, as mentioned at the beginning, they still live in the castle. Going up the main staircase, we find the antechamber, built in the 17th century when the royal apartments were fitted out, beautifully decorated with 17th and 18th century furniture and paintings, and where we find a curious exhibition of chairs and armchairs from various centuries, and display cases showing the tools and fabrics used to make these armchairs. From the antechamber, we go to the King's Chamber, where King Louis XIV stayed, during whose reign some great castles had to reserve apartments for the monarch. All the furniture dates from 1770, with the 4-poster bed presiding the chamber, adorned with period silk fabrics with Chinese-inspired motifs, very fashionable at the time. We leave the sumptuous King's Chamber and head to the parade ground, where we find a keep, which by some stairs leads us to the Rampart Walk, from which we have a spectacular view of the gardens. Along the rooms that line the Rampart Walk, we find a representation of the fairy tale Sleeping Beauty, written by Charles Perrault, after staying at the castle in the 17th century, invited by his friend, the Marquis de Valentani, telling him in the correspondence between them that he had been inspired by the mystery of the castle to set the tale. Finished our tour of the Sleeping Beauty story, we go outside the castle, where we find the prison, in which a tunnel leads us to a single cell with an opening in the wall to provide a ray of light. We leave such a grim place, and taking advantage that it has stopped raining, we enjoy a walk through the gardens. Behind the castle, we find the harness room, where old harnesses and saddles are exhibited, and next to it are the stables, where we find an exhibition of various horse-drawn vehicles, ranging from touring carriages to carts for transporting vegetables from the farm to the castle, or a curious dog cart designed to entertain small children. Continuing the visit, we arrive at the chapel, built between 1530 and 1535 by order of the D'Espinay family, and whose size indicates the family's power at the time. The chapel has a beautiful Renaissance facade, in which we find some curious medallions carved in the stone, with somewhat grim scenes, testimony to a turbulent era, as the chapel was built at the end of the 100 Years' War. Inside this chapel, which was never deconsecrated, baptisms and funerals of the Blacas family are held, and some of them rest in the crypt under the altar. Near the chapel, we find galleries where the old wine cellars were, excavated in the rock in the 14th century, providing ideal conditions for wine preservation, with the winemaking tradition of the region dating back to the 4th century. We will find an original wine press and several old barrels, as well as wax models representing traditional scenes of grape harvesting and winemaking, and where we end our visit to the Château d'Ussé, and where unfortunately we also had to conclude our visit to the beautiful Loire Valley, as the weather forecast predicted strong storms for the following week. So, with great regret, we ended the trip, which we initially planned to extend another 4 or 5 days, a trip to the Loire Valley to which we will undoubtedly return to enjoy its beauty.